Dear friends, this is Indra with Chapter here in the episode of Mathematics and Statistics Learned. In the last episode, we discussed regression analysis, a data modeling techniques in statistics. Today, in this 22nd episode, I'd like to start quadratic equations in algebra. In the previous episodes, we have discussed one unknown equations and system of equations in detail. If you would like to refer to those materials, please visit the link of my channel, Mathematics and Statistics Clinic. In the beginning of the discussion, let me introduce a quadratic equation in brief. Quadratic equations are fundamentals in algebra and mathematics. They are equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where x is the variable and a, b, c are constant numbers with a not equal to 0. If a is 0, this is no longer a quadratic equation but a linear equation, which we have discussed in earlier episodes in detail. The highest power of the variable x in a quadratic equation is 2, which makes it a second-degree polynomial equation. For different values of a, b, and c, we can generate infinitely many quadratic equations that we will be observing in a minute. This is the page to generate quadratic equations. Here we have this, a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, which is a general quadratic equation. In this equation, a, b, c are constant numbers and x a variable. This generates infinitely many quadratic equations with different combinations of a, b, and c. The values of the constant are generated here. When we plug in these values in this general quadratic equations, we get this quadratic equation. Let's keep on clicking this next button to generate infinitely many quadratic equations. If you want to generate the quadratic equation of this type on your own, visit this website of mine, www.teachumaths.com. And in this algebra tab, click quadratic generator on the right of quadratic equations. This is the page. Keep clicking this next button to generate as many equations as you like. At this point, we know the structure of the quadratic equation. Now we need to be focused on solving these quadratic equations. That is, to find the values of x that satisfy the equation. Since the quadratic equation has degree 2, it has two solutions or two roots that satisfy the equation. Various methods exist to solve the quadratic equation. Some of them we shall discuss here in detail. First, let's start with the square root method. Sometimes in this general quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the coefficients of x, that is b, equals 0. That is, the variable x misses the coefficients. And the quadratic equation takes this form, ax squared plus c equals 0. But with no harm, we shall consider this equation as ax squared minus c equals 0 to avoid the complex roots in the beginning of the lesson. In the variable separation process, we transfer this c on the right side and isolate x squared by dividing this c by a. The square root version is the solution of the quadratic equation. Of the two solutions, one is positive and the other is negative. This is the theoretical part of the solution. Let's move to the page where we can observe the working procedure of solving the quadratic equation using square root method. This is the page. For b is equal to 0, the quadratic equation takes this form ax square plus c equals 0. But we consider ax square minus c equals 0. For the values a equals 21 and c equals 84, the quadratic equation becomes 21x squared minus 84 equals 0. Transfer this 84 on the right hand side and isolate x squared by dividing this 84 by 21. We get x squared equals 4. Take the square root on both sides and we have the solution x equals to positive 2 and negative 2. Keep clicking this next button to generate the new problem. If you want to run this program on your own, visit my website www.teachumaths.com. This is the page. On Algebra tab, click Solve Square Root Method on the right of quadratic equation. This is the page. Continue clicking the next button to enjoy the fun game. Next method in the line is the factor method. Here is the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We shall try to factor this equation using factor method. For this, we shall try to find two real numbers m and n by hit and trial method that satisfies the condition m plus n equals b. That is, the sum of these two numbers equals the coefficient of x. And the product of these two numbers equals a times c. That is, the product of these two numbers equals the product of the coefficient of x squared and the constant of. If we happen to get these two numbers m and n satisfying these conditions, then we can directly write the factorized form of this quadratic equation as this: x plus m times x plus n equals 0. That is, this quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 can be written in this factorized form x plus m times x plus n equals 0. Then we can write the solution directly as x equals negative m and x equals negative n. This is the theoretical part. Let's move to the page where we can observe the working procedure of solving the quadratic equation using factor method. This is the page. For these values of a equals 1, b equals 5, and c equals 4, the quadratic equation takes this form: x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. We are trying to solve this equation using the factor method. Here we find these two numbers 1 and 4 by hit and trial method, satisfying the condition 1 plus 4 equals 5, which is same as the coefficient of x. And the product 1 times 4 equals 4 is same as the product of coefficient of x squared 1 times the constant term 4. So we can write the factorized form of this equation into this form: x plus 1 times x plus 4 equals 0. And the solution is the opposite sign of these numbers. That is, the first root x equals negative 1 and the second root x is equal to -4. Let's click this next button to browse the next problem. This is the quadratic equation and two numbers, 1 and -5. Sum is 4 equals the coefficient of 4 and then product is -5. You can write the solution. The first root is x is equal to -1, opposite of dash, and the second root x equal to 5, opposite sign of this number. Keep clicking this next button to have more problems for practice. If you want to run this program on your own, visit this website page of mine, www.teachumaths.com. On this algebra tab, click Solve Factor method on the right of quadratic equation. Here is the page. Continue clicking this next button as long as you want to play this fun game. This is the beginning lesson of learning quadratic equations. You are requested to practice seriously the methods that we discussed so far. We shall continue discussing other methods of solving quadratic equations in future episodes. Please wait patiently. Good luck and happy learning.